Thanks for joining today and for your consideration for Milliman Pixel as your rate comparison tool. We'll be going over the web application, covering basic reports like average premium, one-way rate comparisons across competitors by rating variables and territories, and then also go into some deeper dives in custom reports, including filters and premium distributions by various rating characteristics, as well as some mapping features. For the purposes of this demo, we'll be using a Florida HO3 market basket as to not include any proprietary data. This is a notional sample of Florida that represent a 10% basket of actual locations with simulated rating attributes. It is also possible to upload your own internal data for analysis. So as the market basket is initially loaded, you'll see there are no policies loaded. This is because we need to select who all of the carriers are that we want to compare with. So to start out as a primary, we'll select Citizens as they are the insurer of last resort in Florida. As far as secondary carriers, as you can see, we have 39 on this particular market basket, but usually you only want to select a couple, mostly of your main competitors or main competitors that you'd like to target. I've selected about 11 as an initial subset, so we'll start with those. Once those are selected, you'll go ahead and hit update results, and all of those competitor rates will now be loaded into Pixel. So the first tab that pulls up is the policies with the premium tab. What this does is it shows how many of the overall 342,000 policies that are included and rated by Citizens are also rated by these carriers in their rating algorithms. Reasons why a carrier might not be included or certain risks might not be included could be because they don't offer particular coverages or deductibles, or they have certain underwriting characteristics that mean they wouldn't return a rate for certain risks that you would get a rate back for Citizens. As you can see, most of these are near 100%. If you'd like to look and see how close they are, you can actually do export and export the page into a CSV. And this will show a little bit more detail beyond just the hover 100. You can see here that there's actually only two that are like the Citizens, obviously they're rating all of their own. And it looks like only FedNat has 100% to a T, but a lot of the other ones are very close to 100, as you can see. So once you've determined that a vast majority of the risks rated do generate a premium, it means you'll have a good comparison data set. So at this point, I usually like to go ahead and save my story so I don't forget like which, so for one, so I don't have to go through and update, redo all of the primary and secondary carriers selected, but also so I can then like save a link off and send it off to a colleague or save my place in my work. So for this, we'll do market basket analysis, Florida. And for this, we'll just do analysis of today and save your story. You'll also notice that the top here used to say default, but now it actually has the title of this story that I have loaded. If you ever want to go through and see which carriers are included as you're going through the other tabs, there's this handy little filter summary pop out as well. So as you click that, you'll see it's the HO3 Florida market basket. It has the primary of Citizens, and then this is a list of all of the secondary carriers. So for the simplest basic report, you might want to know what the average premium is across all of the competitors you have loaded. So that's located on the average premium tab. So here you can see we've got the carriers listed alphabetically. what their average premiums are on this bar chart. And then the red line represents Citizens mark. So it's easy to see which bars are below and which bars are above. If the alphabetical arrangement doesn't look great, you can always switch it to actually rank all of the different carriers by their average premium. So here you can see there's 2 that are below Citizens, and then the rest have an average premium that's above. This can also be exported to a CSV in the same action. So download the page to CSV. And once again, we have the average premium for all of those carriers, and Citizens being the third one. So now that we have an idea of our overall position among our selected competitors, let's dig into a particular rating characteristic. We'll move to the Carrier by Variable tab. So this allows you to look at a single rating variable or 2 of them and see how the rates change across them. So like I mentioned, all of the loaded variable names are here, as well as a bunch of the other like physical location attributes, things like city, county, territory, and then the things that you're used to seeing, credit, distance to coast, etc. So for example, let's have a look at coverage A and see how the average premium varies. So in the first column, you'll always have the primary carrier, and that's going to be pinned on the left. So as you scroll to the right, you'll always be able to see the Citizens view in your screen. The coloring here is currently based on the row. So as you can see, basically the darkest green is going to be the lowest premium, and then the darkest red is going to be the highest premium. So as we scroll to the right, you'll see all of them are pretty green, and then we've got a red one that pops out as St. John's at $1,300. The rest of them are quite a bit lower. They're kind of in this $1,000 to $1,100 range. So that's why St. John's is so much darker than all the others. To contrast that, if you look at the next range, the 100 to 150,000, Cypress is much higher at $2,400, and St. John's isn't quite as high. It's down to the 2,000. You can also select other rating attributes here. Let's look at, for example, year built. So here, once again, you can see across different carriers, we have different competitors having the highest rate and then some having lower rates among different areas. If you'd like, you can also do a two-way analysis where you can look at a particular fix for one variable and then see how it varies by the other. So let's keep the year built theme here, and then we'll look at coverage A within a particular year built. So this is going to be a much longer table because it has each combination of the year built, and then within that particular year built, it'll have every single combination for the coverage A. As you can see, just if we were to focus just on older homes, built 1930 and prior, this will give you the competitiveness of the primary compared to all of the others for these different coverage A groups. And then it goes down for each combination. Like all the other tabs, this is available to be exported. This one is going to be a bit longer just because it is so many different combinations. But as you can see, they're all here. So we end up having about 130 different combinations here, where we have all of the different carriers' average premium and then how they compare to each other. You'll notice that this one is blank for Cypress in each row of 0 to 100K. This is likely because they have some sort of setup in their rating plan where they don't provide any premium amount to risks below $100,000. Another way to look at a single rating attributes is over on the by rating variable tab. So we'll look at, let's look at coverage A again. So while the carrier by variable gave information on how each particular carrier ranked among, like their average was compared to the others, this will actually give you a box and whisker plot of how all of the policies within that particular group were spread out. So this 150 to 200K, this had 88,000 policies, and you can see what the median was and how far away that is of the median citizens policy. So for these middle, like 100,000 to 300,000, citizens is below the median by $12. But then as we get up to the higher, more expensive houses, citizens is actually higher than the average by about $12 again for those 600K plus risks. But you can also see on average that this is overall a lower number of policies that are within the loaded market basket compared to up here. So as far as custom reports, one of the other powerful tools that we have within Pixel is using the filters. So the filters are available in the top. And all of these on the left are different things you can filter on. So as you can see, there's policy specific, things like coverage amounts, endorsements and deductibles, geography, things having to do with the physical location of the risk, dwelling particular attributes, which are going to be associated with the house that is on the property, and then also various WinMIT specific things. This might not necessarily be applicable to all states, but this is one category that we have for Florida in particular. And then this other category, which includes your BSEG and your credit and some other rating attributes. So let's say, for example, we want to go through and only look at particular construction types. So that would be on our dwelling, and let's just look at frame. And then in addition, let's focus on only the $1,000 AOP deductibles. So as I've clicked these two, now and initially we didn't have any filters selected, so we had 342,000 included policies. As we've only selected the combination of frame and AOP deductibles equaling $1,000, that's going to drop down the number of risks significantly. So see, we're down to 55,000 now. And then if you ever want to go make sure and see what filters you have, there's always that filter summary again. So here, again, we've got our primary and secondary carriers. The two new things since we added those filters is the AOP deductible and the construction equals frame. And then you can also, if you happen to look at this type of view and look to one of the filters that you've selected to filter on, it'll only show the ones that you have selected. So you'll also notice that this now has a little warning that says unsaved dashboard story. So we have two options here. We can either save over the existing story, or we can save as and make a new story talking about the particular filters that we now have on this subset. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll call it Florida Market Baskets And then for the description, we'll use, this is actually going to be just the frame and AOP 1000. And we'll save that. Okay, so now that we've filtered that down, it goes through, and again, all of the tabs now only reflect that. So you can see these numbers changed a bit. So Cyprus is down to 89% when before it was at 92%. And your average premium chart, and again, it really applies to every single tab where it'll have the filtered policies. So let's suppose you've got this subset that you want to decide how we can better target these frame and AOP $100,000 deductible variables. One way that you could try and figure out what's driving the price difference is to go through and select each of the different carriers on the carrier by variable, see if it looks like it was significant. But that could be pretty tedious and not very interesting work, and not to mention quite challenging. So instead, we actually have some decision trees built into Pixel, which are on the segmentation tab. So we'll go over here. So here we've been looking at averages, so we'll look at the dollar difference to average. So the very basic level, we'll just select calculate to see what is driving the dollar difference to the average premium for Citizens compared to all of the competitors. So on average, Citizens is $267 below the average. The biggest drivers that popped out here were insurance score, year built roof, year built, followed by coverage A. And as you can see, the dollar amounts get pretty significant in the different areas. This follows the same coloring scheme as the other ones, as the other tabs, where everything that's green to darker green is going to be negative, and then it'll vary based on how severe it is. And then going up to the top, it'll go up to red, to the highest combination. So as you can see here, the insurance score is the biggest difference in that lower insurance scores generally were like the Citizens premium is $500 below, compared to for better insurance scores, they're only $100 below. That's likely because Citizens doesn't rate on credit or insurance score, and most of the other carriers that are loaded do. So and then you can see for these other ones, there's year built. The year built split is actually the same in both trees here, where it's 2010. So 2009 is going to be underpriced by 700 versus newer is going to be 290. And then same here, 240 versus $88 above. If we wanted to look at some of the details of each of these terminal nodes, that's also available below this in the table output. So this shows all the details of those terminal nodes, showing what the total count of each of the groups of policies are in each of those, and then what all those final splits are. So this would be insurance score below 700, year built roof below 2010, less than 2010, and coverage A above $218,000. And then it'll show you what the dollar difference amount is and a few other summary details there. This is another example where you can export out into an Excel file. And again, there's all the details of the terminal node, how many risks are in each one, what percentage of the risk, what percentage of the total distribution was there, and then the average and median and what the differences were. So now that we've seen that insurance score and year built are pretty important, we can actually return back to the buy rating variable tab. and dig into those a little bit more. This will give us even more data of how big of a spread that is across the different groups, and then how much our premiums are different than what the market is. You may also want to look at a map. It can be a powerful tool in really telling a story and being able to show on a visual basis where a particular company is more or less competitive. So our mapping features are over in State Map and State Point Map. State Map will give you details, again, on the dollar difference or percentage difference away from an average, but it'll actually show it to you on the map of Florida. So you can see in some of these, it is, a lot lower, and then in other counties where it's actually higher than the average. So here we see in Broward County, we're actually above that. In some of these other counties, similar thing. And then in the green ones, we're typically below it. But even in some of the more pink ones, we're below as well. The scale is down here on the bottom of the map. And then you can even create custom bins and custom colors if you want to make a different map for your particular report. And that's all available in the customization here. The State Point Map does a little bit different data. So it'll actually show you where each of these risks is located that you have loaded into Pixel on a map. And then you can also add in 5 different rating attributes that are particular to that house. As you zoom in here, you can then click on the house and you can see what the difference is away from the median or average. So we'll go back to dollar difference to average. And you'll only be able to do this on a county by county basis. So you'll select a particular county in order to do that. And let's just select AOP deductible construction, because we know those should all be the same. We'll do coverage A. Let's do year built roof. And policyholder age. So there's 5 items we can select. So now if we zoom in and click on one of the dots, it'll actually give us the ability to see what the attributes are for this house. So this one is above the average, so it's $400 above. Again, the $1,000 deductible and frame construction line up with our filters. It's got a quite high coverage A of 565 and a newer year built roof, versus one of these other green dots is going to be a lot lower. And this shows a coverage A of 465, year built roof of 2012, and a policyholder age of 69. So this is just another way that you can kind of dig in on a more location level and then learn more about what could be driving the different differences in premiums there. So once you've completed your analysis, definitely be sure to save your story. So we didn't change anything, but we can go ahead and make sure and just save it again. One thing you may want to do is take all of the different things that you've looked at and actually save it to a PDF. So the way you can do that is go ahead and click the download reports to PDF. And this will essentially go through and you can check off which of the different views you wanted to save into your PDF to then, again, send off to a colleague or save for your records or put into a PowerPoint or whatever you want to do. So this is in order of how we did them. So we'll go ahead and click download here. And on the very first page, again, this is another search filter summary where we list out what the data set is, what all the carriers were, and then what filters were applied to the data that will be in the subsequent pages. So as you can see, this is our policies with a premium that we had loaded, and then the average premium. And then we went over to the segmentation tab for the decision trees. These were all the important variables. And then this is the tree output, as well as all the details on the terminal nodes. We then were looking at the insurance score across the different ranges to see what the policy differences were. And then we looked at the two maps. One was the county map for the dollar difference to average, and then another was the point map for this county. So as you can see, Pixel not only has the ability to produce straightforward reports like average premium by carrier or one-way analysis for policy characteristics, but it also has the ability to add custom filters, generate powerful decision trees, making your analysis way more efficient and way more complete. And also gives you the ability to analyze maps. So thanks so much for your time and consideration. We'll be happy to address any additional questions on phone or email.